Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the Samsung Galaxy S23 and the iPhone XR and see which specific phone you should go and pick up. Now, these two phones are very different from one another, but it's still very interesting to see how a 2018 phone, the 5-year-old iPhone XR, compares against a newer type of 799 type of phone that Samsung's made. So let's go and take a look. If you want to pick either one of these phones, the links will be down in the description. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the same time. Now, starting off side by side, you can definitely tell there are some pretty big differences here, but also some similarities. The iPhone XR on the front has a 6.1-inch IPS panel, and overall, I think it's a pretty decent display. It's definitely not perfect, but I do think Apple did a pretty decent job with it at that time 5 years ago. But definitely, as of right now, it's kind of showing its age. It's an IPS panel, it's not even an OLED. So it's not like the end of the world or anything, but I will tell you when it kind of comes down to it, that it's starting to kind of show its age. You have big bezels on the side, big bezel on the bottom, kind of a little bit, not that big, but for this day and age kind of is. And you have a pretty big notch. Like it's kind of an outdated panel, but it's 5 years old. That's kind of what's expected as of this point. With the Samsung Galaxy S23, on the other hand, a very, very good display. I mean, this phone looks beautiful. 6.1 inches, so the same screen size technically on paper, but you are getting a dynamic AMOLED display on this phone. This is a very good panel. It's very sharp. It's 1080p higher resolution than the iPhone XR. It's also a 120 hertz panel, which that in and of itself is really cool. And on top of that, it's high resolution and it's a hole punch display as well. So you have a lot less bezel on this type of phone. So I think the iPhone XR still looks good, but the Galaxy S23 still looks better in my opinion. But the iPhone the Galaxy S23 sits in a way smaller body than the iPhone XR. So you can even kind of see from here that the iPhone XR sticks out on the sides way more than the Galaxy S23. On the side though, we have, curved side on the iPhone XR. The Galaxy S23 had this flatter side, which looks really good. On the back of both these phones, you can kind of see that we do have completely different setups. So we have a single camera lens on the iPhone XR. On something like the Galaxy S23, we do have a triple camera setup, which looks beautiful. Frosted glass back on the Galaxy S23. iPhone XR has that standard glass back, which still looks good. There's, like I said, not too much to complain about from that phone in that standpoint either. We have wireless charging on both phones, IP certification on both phones. We do have reverse wireless charging on the Galaxy S23, which is great. And beyond that, there's really not a whole lot else to kind of complain about here. I think both phones look great. Both phones actually do feel very similar, but you are just getting the more premium feeling one on the Galaxy S23, which doesn't mean a whole lot, but still it's kind of cool between both. So from that standpoint, that kind of covers it up there. Now in the software and the longevity portion, the iPhone XR is definitely going to not outlast the Galaxy S23. The iPhone XR I think is kind of pretty much, I think it's going to get another 2 versions of software. And then after that, I think that's pretty much going to be that. I think when it comes down to it, a device like the iPhone XR, it's still going to be here for many, it's probably going to be here for like many more months, maybe like until like maybe the end of next year. And then it's probably going to be done. Where something like the Galaxy S23, and this is going to be the phone that's probably going to be the one that's going to last longer here. It's going to last for many more years on top of the iPhone XR. So I think I look at a phone like the Galaxy S23, and this is going to be the longer lasting one when it comes down to it. So from that standpoint, that kind of covers it up there as well. Now let's go and do a speed comparison between both these phones. The Galaxy S23 has that Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chipset inside with 8 gigabytes of RAM, where the iPhone XR has that Apple A12 Bionic chip inside of it with 3 gigabytes of RAM. So let's go and see which one's the faster one between both. Okay, there we go. All the apps are cleared out in the background, so let's get into it. Phone calls 3, 2, 1. Okay, S23 faster. App stores 3, 2, 1. Okay, Galaxy S23 definitely faster here, but Androids typically open up their app store a little bit faster. I will say though, kind of scrolling through, it seems, both kind of seem like the same thing. There's not really a big difference here. Let's go and see the animations of the gestures, pretty much the same thing. Hopping out of here, let's get into their cameras. 3, 2, 1. Not a big difference. Let's go and take a photo. This one was on night mode, this one wasn't, so totally fine. Let's go and open up that photo. 3, 2, 1. Definitely faster on the Galaxy S23 there. We do have some of these third-party applications we can test out. Let's go ahead and try something like Twitter, which I don't even think I have. We'll do Snapchat. 3, 2, 1. Okay, I think the Galaxy S23 definitely faster there. Hopping out of this one, let's go and get into something like Quizlet, which I also don't have. So I have to load up my game launcher. Let's do Temper on 2, 3, 2, 1. I'm afraid to touch the screen, but this one is going to have a pop-up. I knew it. So even with that pop-up, it was still going to be faster, I think, on the Galaxy S23. You can even still see, even if we give it like a 2 or 3 second delay, I was pretty quick to type or like click on those specific things that came up, and it was still a faster experience, I think, on the Galaxy S23 when I kind of came down to it. So let's go and hop out of this one. Like I was mentioning, I do have the game launcher, which makes me basically do it in order to open up an application. We can try Roblox 3, 2, 1. Okay, of course we need to upgrade it, so we'll just go and hop out of these two. Let's go and load up Game Launcher again. Let's go and do Genshin Impact 3, 2, 1. Now I'll just load it up into the initial display, like the initial screen. We'll just kind of see what happens there. But I'm pretty sure the Galaxy S23 is definitely going to be the faster one here. The iPhone XR doesn't seem that far behind, to be honest. But it's really cool to see how many improvements have been happening with phones from 5 years ago to how they're holding up now. So that was very interesting. Hopping out of this specific game, we can go and try one more, but I do think we kind of get the idea which one's going to be the faster one here. We'll try Subway Surfers 3, 2, 1. But it's very weird because I have to keep clicking into the accepting the terms of service and whatnot when I've already done that like 100 times on both these phones. So this one we were already into the game for a while ago. You can see we finally get into it on the iPhone XR. So I definitely do think when it kind of comes down to it, the iPhone XR, for it being 5 years old, I think it did pretty decent. But the Galaxy S23 is definitely the far faster phone here for a fact. So that pretty much covers it up there. Now in the camera department between both these phones, what's very interesting is that the Galaxy S23 is probably one of the better cameras this year, and we're talking about an iPhone that had a very, I guess, controversial camera because of its single camera setup. So on the back, Galaxy S23 triple camera setup, wide ultra-wide telephoto lens. The iPhone XR, on the other hand, had a single wide angle camera. You can do 4K at 60 on the back, you can do 1080p at 60 on the front of the XR, 4K at 60 on the front of the iPhone of the Galaxy S23, and you can do 8K capability on the Galaxy S23 as well, which is so beautiful in my opinion. Now, if we go and take a look at the specific, camera quality here, I definitely do think with something like the iPhone XR, it's a good camera. It's not a bad camera. I definitely do think it's not the best camera right now because it's pretty outdated and only has a single camera lens, so that's probably another thing to keep in mind. But with something like the iPhone XR, you're still getting video mode, slow mode, time lapse, portrait mode, panorama mode. Like you're still getting a lot of stuff here, which is really nice. It's not the biggest deal if you get a phone like this and you already have like a outdated kind of camera. I think it's still good, and it still works really well with applications like Snapchat and Instagram. If I were to use this camera every day, I think I'd be okay. Like I wouldn't really complain about it too much. With the Galaxy S23 though, this is a completely different story. This is probably one of the best cameras that's going to be coming out this year. And I'd probably say this is going to be a great camera even for the next 2 years or 3 years even. It's going to be up there. So you have that ultra-wide camera, so you get 0.6x zoom, but you also have that 30x camera, so you can zoom in a lot too, which is really cool. The phone like this, you're getting photo mode, portrait video, and under this more option, you are also getting a lot more options. So here you're getting you just have so many options here, it's not even funny. So you can really just use, director's view, pro video, single take, slow motion. You have a lot of options here, and hyperlapse, which I like. So you're definitely getting probably a better, more optimized camera on the Galaxy S23. But that's kind of what's expected. You're getting a more optimized phone in general because it's the newer phone. That's exactly what you would expect. At least that's what I would expect if I was getting a phone like this. So something like the Galaxy S23, you are getting a phone that's going to be here for many, many years to come. It's going to be lasting for many years. It's going to be here probably until like 2026 or 2027. So this is a beautiful phone for sure. The iPhone XR I still think is a pretty decent phone for sure. I still recommend people to buy this phone if you're looking for a good budget tier device. But I do think if you're trying to get the more flagship one, the Galaxy S23 probably makes the most amount of sense in my opinion. So in terms of that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that'll mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.